The cashier slid the card back across the counter before the machine had even finished reading it. "It's not going through," Lila Harper said. "The reader doesn't like this card. Cash, or you can step aside." The customer was a woman in hospital scrubs, tired at the end of a shift. She looked at the card in her hand, then at the cashier. "It worked an hour ago," she said. "The reader doesn't lie," Lila said, already looking past her. A young white couple stepped up behind the woman. Lila smiled wide. "Hey guys, what can I get you?" She tapped their card on the same reader. It beeped green on the first try. She handed them their cups and never looked back at the woman in scrubs. Marcus Ellison stood 3 people back in line and watched all of it. He was 50, in a worn jacket and an old cap, the kind of man nobody in a place like this looked at twice. That was fine with him. He had not come to be noticed. He had come because a complaint had been filed about this exact store, the flagship of a coffee chain called Ironwood, and his job was to find out if it was true. Marcus was an investigator for the city's Human Rights Commission. He handled public accommodations cases, the law that says a business open to the public can't pick and choose who it serves based on color. Most days, the complaints were hard to prove. People felt something was wrong, but couldn't point to the exact moment. This was the exact moment. The woman in scrubs, Lydia Monroe, didn't argue. She paid cash for 1 coffee, sat down at a table near the window, took 1 sip, and left it there. She walked out without finishing it. Marcus watched her go and made a small note of the time. He knew something this cashier didn't. If a card really got declined, the store's payment system kept a record of it. A failed attempt logged to the second. If there was no failed attempt in the log, it meant the card was never actually run. It meant somebody had decided the answer before the machine got a say. He didn't tell her that. He filed it away, the way he filed everything. For later. The time. The name stitched on her apron. Lila. Then he heard the rest of it. Lila leaned toward the other cashier, a younger woman named Tara Vance, and didn't bother to lower her voice. "Did you see her hospital badge and all? We're not a charity." Tara laughed. "We need to start filtering. Place is turning into a bus station. Some people just don't fit the brand." Lila said, "You can tell." 6 people stood in that line. Marcus counted them. 6 people heard every word. Not one of them said anything. They looked at their phones, at the menu board, at the floor. He had spent his whole life in rooms like this, watching people decide that silence was easier than trouble. He understood it. He also knew exactly what it cost the person standing at the counter. When it was his turn, Marcus stepped up and set his own card on the counter. "A coffee, please," he said. "Run it on the same reader." Lila's eyes moved over his cap, his jacket, his shoes. Slow. The way you look at something you've already decided about. "We take cash if it's easier for you." "Run the card," Marcus said. She tapped it on the reader. It beeped green on the first try. She frowned at the screen like it had betrayed her. The same reader that didn't like the nurse's card had no trouble with his. He watched her notice that and decide it didn't matter. She scribbled something on his cup, didn't ask his name, and pushed it across without another word. Marcus took his coffee to a corner table and sat down. He didn't drink it. He looked around the store slowly. There was a coffee ring dried on the table next to his. Days old. Nobody had wiped it. The trash by the door was full. The front of the store looked perfect for a photo. Everything past the counter told a different story. He opened a small notebook and wrote 1 line. Card declined. Never run. Then he sat there and watched. He watched Lila greet every young, well-dressed customer with a "Hey babe" and a smile. He watched her hand a middle-aged black man his drink without a word or a glance. He watched a woman in a cleaning uniform get the same flat voice the nurse had gotten, the same wrong tone, the same not-quite rudeness that was hard to put in a complaint but easy to feel. And in the back, moving fast and quiet behind the espresso machine, he noticed one worker who treated every single person the same, warm, careful, like they all belonged there. He wrote down her name from her apron. Elena. Marcus finished writing, not his coffee, and looked at the line again, at the 6 people who had said nothing, at the woman behind the counter who thought no one important was watching. He wasn't a customer passing through. He was the person the law sends when a place like this stops treating people like people, and he was just getting started. Marcus returned several more times over the following days, different hours, same worn jacket. He wasn't guessing anymore. He was building a file. After several visits, he understood the shape of it. This wasn't two cashiers having a bad day. It was a routine. He found the first hard piece by accident. He'd asked to use the restroom, and the hallway to it ran past the register while Lila was on break. He saw a folded index card wedged in the cash drawer, half sticking out. He didn't touch it then. He came back when the floor was empty and looked. Two columns. One side had little hearts. The other had X's. Hearts. Regulars who tipped. The couple who tagged the store online. Good vibe customers. X's. An old man who just sits. Nurses. One drink. A woman with kids. Messy. Don't encourage. And, near the bottom, in the same handwriting, Flannel Man, slow service. Flannel Man. That was him. The day he'd come in as a customer, they'd written him down, put an X next to him, and next to the X a note. If they're not brand fit, slow service, they'll leave on their own. He put the card back exactly where it was and matched it against what he already had. The payment system told the rest. He'd requested the store's transaction records through the commission. The nurse's card, the one that didn't go through, showed no failed attempt at all. It was never run, just voided by hand. He found 3 other cards the same way, all in 1 month, all manually voided with no reason logged. He didn't have the customers' names yet, but he had the pattern. The internal side came to him from someone who'd been waiting for a reason to talk. Elena Vargas worked the openings and the closings, the dead shifts, every week for some time. She was the one who treated everybody the same. On one of his visits, she watched him a while, then said quietly near the end of her shift, "You're not really here for the coffee, are you?" "No," Marcus said. "I'm not." Elena didn't ask who he was. She just reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook full of drink recipes, flavor notes in the margins. 4 of the seasonal drinks on that menu are mine, she said. Victor submitted all of them under his name. I stopped writing my name on anything. What's the point? Victor was Victor Lang, the regional manager. Elena had filed 3 complaints, she told him. Schedule, tips, recipe credit. Everyone came back the same way. Reviewed, no action needed, signed by Victor. He was the one the complaints went to, she said, so they didn't go anywhere. She showed him one more thing, a sticky note on the tip jar in the break room. All tips go through Lila. The jar was hand-painted sunflowers, her initials on the bottom, nearly empty. Marcus wrote it all down. He kept the 2 threads straight in his head. Out front, customers turned away for how they looked. In the back, a worker robbed of her name and her money. Same store, same rot. One person feeding the other. He needed a witness who would go on the record, not just feel that something was wrong. He found one in the line. Raymond Cole was an older man who came most mornings. Lila had started slow serving him weeks ago, making him wait, forgetting his order. The same play the index card described. He'd nearly stopped coming. When Marcus asked him about it on the sidewalk, Raymond didn't hesitate. I watched her run the card for the man behind me, Raymond said, right after she told me my card had a problem. I'll put that in writing if it helps somebody. For 6 people in that first line, no one had said a word. Raymond was the 7th, and he was done being quiet. Then Victor Lang himself showed up, cologne first, the way Elena said he always did. He worked the room, high-fived Lila, called her the heartbeat of the store. He walked right past Elena, restocking cups 6 feet away, like she wasn't there. Marcus pushed a little, just to hear it. He heard customers complain about service here. Victor smiled, easy and rehearsed. People complain when they don't get free refills. It's noise. My team hits its numbers. The numbers, always the numbers. Marcus had heard that voice before, the one that's already rehearsed the answer before the question. A manager who'd seen the complaints land on his desk and chose the lie because it was cheaper than fixing it. That was the last thing Marcus needed to hear. The next morning, he requested the full pull, the store's payment logs for the year and the camera footage, this time officially through the commission. He sat in the cramped back office while a screen loaded the transaction history. The column began to scroll, card after card, and there, line by line, were the manual voids, cards tried and canceled in seconds. No reason given. Clustered on the shifts, 2 names always worked. Marcus didn't say anything. He just watched the record write itself, the thing the store had been sure no one would ever open. He was almost ready to walk back through the front door, this time not as Flannel Man. Marcus walked back in on a Friday morning before the store opened, and this time he set a folder on the counter instead of a card. Lila was there, so was Tara. Victor Lang had come in for the meeting he'd been told was a routine review. Elena stood near the back, not knowing why she'd been asked to stay. Marcus opened the folder and laid out the first thing, a city ID with his photo on it. "My name is Marcus Ellison," he said. "I'm an investigator with the city's Human Rights Commission. A customer had filed a complaint about this store. I've been looking into it since." He wasn't the owner. He didn't say he ran anything. He didn't need to. The thing in front of them wasn't a boss catching them. It was an investigation, and it already had what it needed. Lila's face went pale all at once, the color draining out of it. He set down the next pages, the payment logs. "This is the card you told a nurse didn't go through," Marcus said, tapping a line. "There's no failed attempt here. It was never run. It was voided by hand. Same with 3 other cards that month. All manual voids, no reason given, all on shifts the 2 of you worked." He laid the index card beside the logs, the hearts and the X's. "And this tells me why," he said. "Hearts for the customers you wanted, X's for the ones you didn't. Flannel man, slow service. That was me. You put an X next to a man and turned him away before he said a word. That's not a reader malfunction. That's a choice. And you made it over and over." There it was, the turn of it. The index card Lila had kept to filter people, the voids she'd done so smoothly, were now the proof of exactly what the law forbids. They had built the case against themselves and handed it to him. Lila's mouth opened. Nothing useful came out. Victor tried first, the way the manager always does. "People complain about service all the time. My store hits its numbers." Marcus looked at him. "Numbers aren't part of my investigation. The 3 complaints Elena Vargas filed are schedule, tips, recipe credit. Everyone came to your desk. Everyone came back, no action needed, signed by you. The same Elena whose 4 recipes you submitted to your company under your own name." He set those pages down too, her notebook, dates next to Victor's reports, weeks apart, every time. Victor's easy face hardened. His eyes moved to the wall, the door, anywhere but the table, a man looking for an exit and not finding one. "You buried her because no one was above you to hear it," Marcus said. "And the cashier you protected is your niece. I have the personnel file. That's not a coincidence. That's a closed loop built to protect itself." The room was quiet, not the comfortable kind. The consequences didn't come down like a hammer. They came in plain, hard steps, and they didn't depend on Marcus being anyone special. His findings went to the commission. Commissioner Patricia Lang signed off on a formal determination, a public accommodations violation. And it pulled Ironwood into a compliance agreement the company couldn't refuse. Mandatory training, an independent complaint line that did not run through any regional manager, and refunds and written apologies to the customers who'd been turned away. Then the part that reached past one store. The commission had the company pull payment logs chain-wide. The same pattern showed up in other locations. Cards quietly voided, the same kind of customer turned away. The truth had been sitting in the system the whole time. It just took someone with the authority to open it. Lila and Tara were let go, pushed out by the findings, not by anyone pointing a finger. Victor Lang was investigated separately for the complaints he'd buried and the recipes he'd stolen, and lost his position. He made one last try on his way out. "I gave this company many years." Patricia Lang answered him plainly. "Many years doesn't cover signing no action on 3 complaints about a person you were stealing from. That part's on your name." Elena's recipes were corrected back to her name as part of the agreement, and her stolen tips were repaid to the cent. Raymond, who'd agreed to put it in writing, and Elna, who'd handed over what she'd been quietly keeping, were both named in the file for telling the truth when it would have been easier not to. Marcus didn't fire anyone. He couldn't, and that was the point. He wrote down what was true and let the law and the record do the rest. Lydia, the nurse, got her apology and her refund and a call telling her the complaint she almost didn't bother filing had changed the whole chain. And that was the thing that stayed with him. None of it would have moved if the line had stayed quiet. 6 people had watched that nurse get turned away and said nothing. Raymond was the 7th, and he finally spoke. Lydia filed the complaint everyone before her had swallowed. Elena handed over the notebook she'd stopped writing her name in. The system didn't crack because someone powerful walked through the door. It cracked because a few ordinary people decided, one at a time, to stop looking away. When it was done, the screen in the back office still showed the log, card after card, tried and canceled for no reason a machine could explain. Out front, Elena set her sunflower tip jar back in the middle of the counter and peeled the old sticky note off the front. A machine doesn't lie. It wrote down every card turned away by nothing but a hand pressing cancel. The only person who forgot the machine was always keeping count was the one pressing the button. Marcus never needed anyone to know who he was. He just needed a record that could speak, and a few people willing to stop being quiet. For the ones who'd already walked out,